Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, here we are, another episode, and I've got an amazing guest on today. I am super excited to welcome him onto the show, but just to give you guys a little bit of teaser of who he is. As a former network executive at MTV Networks, my guest discovered talent and developed new ways to support their goals. He pioneered how brands and business owners could contribute to their public narrative by making them stars and producers of their own television series. Early hits included Punk'd, The Osbournes, TRL, 8th and Ocean, Wild 'N Out, and The Challenge. Since then, he and his team have continued to be well-trusted connectors who develop and distribute original content across all media platforms, especially podcasts, which is exciting. So before I welcome him on here and tell you who he is, like that just ought to get you excited right there. All that stuff right there got me excited. But before I get him on here, I need to do a shout out to our sponsors. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt Mills is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube production, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to fit your needs. To learn more about him and his work, go to photosbywalt.com. We also want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Clow of Upbeat Media Production. If you are in need of turnkey special event production, Clow is your go-to. To learn more about him, you want to go to upbeatmediapro.com. We love Chloe, by the way, Vinny, because every now and then we get him on our recordings and he's always the little fun add-in to the studio. So we have fun with him.
Chloe's the pro to know, huh?
Yeah, he's the pro to know. He does event production and does a lot of the big events that you guys are familiar with and out there like BuzzFest, all those kind of things.
The ones we talk about, yep.
Ones we talk about. But anyway, so my guest today, Vinnie Potestivo. Did I get it right? Did I get it almost right? I think is an Emmy Award-Winning.
You got 3 out of 4 syllables. Close enough.
Okay, almost. Potestivo. We got it. All right. Is an Emmy Award-Winning media advisor who helps clients leverage their media exposure, find fame, and make an impact. He's the editor-in-chief of I Have a Podcast and is responsible for discovering and amplifying the voice of independent podcasters worldwide. This is what I think is so neat, Vinny, when I was looking at all the work that you've done. Through the use of original content, he has helped elevate personal brands. And I'm only going to name a few because this list is long, but Mandy Moore, Ashton Kutcher, and Sean Diddy Combs is just to name a few. And then he's worked with some corporate brands like Macy, Samsung, and Nikon. The list is long for sure. So, Vinny, welcome to the show. I am super excited to have you here today and to chat with you.
Oh, I am ready to dig in. Thank you so much for having me.
Your bio, like this is my favorite part of the show. It's absolutely my favorite part is to go through you guys' bios and like pull out and extract what we need to talk about. But then I get these just incredible bios and I'm like, what part do I leave out? What do I leave out here? Because there's so much great stuff. You have worked with so many incredible people. And I've looked at some of your stuff. So I've already kind of researched you and dug into your notes to see all this. And so I'm thrilled to chat with you today and just to learn about your journey and what you're doing and where you came from. So it's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad we're doing this now versus 25 years ago when I was in the thick of it at MTV and we were following our gut and intuition and the communication that we could have between each other. And looking back now, I look at all the mistakes and successes that we had, they had, and make sure that we as business owners don't hit those mistakes. I really believe in the power of content. I've seen how a TV show can change Ashton Kutcher's life, Sharon Osbourne's life, Jessica Simpson's life. I've seen how TV can do that. And the power isn't in the show. The power is in the audience. And now that we have the ability to own our audience, no one owns podcasting. That's the best thing about podcasting. No one owns podcast. A couple of big companies, but nowhere close to owning the category. And we are building this podcast industry brick by brick, bringing our experiences from many different types of career fields. I appreciate the podcast economy. I love how podcasting economy fractures the global economy, how I can find articulate, well-spoken people who who know how to create and research and produce content in every market possible now, from science, nursing, math. I mean, I literally can go down the path. And if I was booking talent at a news station, at a local news station, if I needed, it's tax season, I'm looking for the most articulate, person to come in and talk about taxes or relationships or home buying advice, I would be looking for the experts who are actually doing it in their career fields, who found the way to stand out, and specifically in podcasting because of the reach. So that's a brilliant way to stand out nowadays. And we have so much control over where we get discovered and how we get discovered. And I really love using this word ownership over and over again, because I didn't have that at MTV. The thing you have that Sharon Osbourne doesn't have is a show. You own it. She doesn't. She doesn't own any of the shows that Jack Osbourne sold. Plenty of shows after the Osbournes. He doesn't own those shows. That's not how, unfortunately, that's not how the media market, the mass media market in America works. It works differently in other countries. There are reasons why people sell shows to, in Switzerland, for example, or in Sweden and other Nordic countries that allow the creator to retain rights and then come back to America and license them instead of selling them. So I love helping independent creators figure that out, because we are the business owners. We are the brand owners. I learned from Beyonce and Ashton Kutcher and the best of the best who had to go through TV to get their stories seen so that they can make the change that they knew they were capable of making. And I love that I get to do that on this side of content now.
Wow. And I think what's so great about this story too is that, you've kind of walked that walk. You've gone through it and sort of learned what's the ins and the outs of this. And when you were talking about finding those people that in real estate or accounting, whatever, I'm like, you're probably pretty good at that too. I mean, you can probably spot those people out. You're like, I'm going to dig through this. And I think that's a great talent, right? Like, it's a good talent, because there are a lot of, and I think it's in everything that we do. There are a lot of people that are really good at what they do, and there are a lot of people that are not so great at what they do. So, and you have to have that eye for saying, who are those people that I can really help take from this point A to this point B, right?
Oh, my mind is like ping-ponging names and shows right now. For years, that's what I did. I had this skill set, and I would wait, that I loved, by the way. I had a skill set that I loved, that I learned too. And I was able to use it when I was called on by networks. And then at first it was a lot of fun. At first it was go find Housewives of New Jersey, and how could that franchise be different than the other franchise? Like, at first it starts to be like, you're looking for interesting, unique, dynamic people. Then if you're going to build a company that's a service, if casting is the service, then you ultimately have to scale based on what the service requests are. And it got to a point in TV where I didn't want to find people based on if they were single or if they were in a tumultuous relationship and possibly considering divorce or trying to get pregnant but didn't and want to figure out how to grow a family. Like, there's weird, crazy constructs that come in working with TV. And I felt like the thing that makes, the thing that works in TV is episode count. That's what you get paid on, episode count. So production companies want to make as many episodes as possible. That's what they get paid on. That doesn't always benefit the talent. And I got into this media industry because of the people, because I wanted to be surrounded by talent. I didn't accidentally fall into casting. I got pushed into casting because all I would do is meet new people. Also because I didn't know a single person in the industry. So the only thing I could do is meet people. It's like I had no skill set other than trying to meet people. That turns out to be a pretty good skill set. Networking turns out to be a pretty good skill set when you're hired to find talent. And the coolest thing is that I was director of talent development at MTV. I can name hundreds of people who now have that title, and they're running HR departments. And I think that's so cool that casting and HR are so closely aligned, especially in the words we use, talent, our company talent. That defines the scope of people working for us, as opposed to a creative skill set, Also, we are all creators. Some of us by trade and some of us by technology. Some of us are creators because we communicate on creative platforms and we've been forced to be creative. And I like really helping people lean into their strengths. And I found ways to help people get their goals through media. if your reach is high, you need a platform that supports you. And I help people build that platform slowly, and I support them along the way. And everyone's platform is completely different, but they accumulate success along the way. And that's why most of the people we've even talked about so far, none of them, their goal was TV. TV was always a leverageable tool to get the impact that they knew they wanted to make. Ashton Kutcher didn't come to MTV because he wanted to host a show called Punk'd. He came to MTV because he knew the MTV audience, and he knew he could create a show that the MTV audience would connect with. Punk'd wasn't the first idea he gave us, and it wasn't actually a concept that he pitched, but it was a concept in development back and forth with him that we landed on. And who better than him to do that? By the way, there could have been other people. I can give you a short list of other prank shows we were maybe looking at back in the day that I can see Redman and Method Man hosting, like in the old, like late 90s of MTV. But Ashton took the prank to Punk'd. He elevated it to, it's not about aha gotcha. It's about what? How did you believe this? Like what version of reality, what world are you living in that says something about community. That says something about culture. And I think that was a secret sauce to Punk'd, and why our grandparents use that word now, and our nieces and nephews use Punk'd as like, it's until the show came out. I mean, obviously punk was a word beforehand, but, it didn't quite have the meaning, the elevated meaning, that it means now. And to work with those 1%ers to see how they were able to be successful in their current projects and then leverage those projects. So like Ashton came in, pitched a show, got the show helped him launch his production company that he sold. And doing all of those moves, was able to take money and start investing in content and investing in businesses and platforms and Uber and PayPal and so the story Twitter. And so the story goes, and I gave him the space to control his narrative, where in the 90s, to be honest, Ashton was up against is he just a pretty boy in movies? Is he just the golden boy of TV? Could a model turned actor possibly create something that would generate this amount of revenue and community and content? The answer is yes. And then we did with Jessica and Sharon, the three most unlikely people to be successful. And I watched them turn their actions into their success. What they did wasn't successful. How they did it is what turned into their success. And I'm obsessed that I got to be in the room. I heard questions asked. I heard answers given. It's crazy to be in the room through that development process and understand what the power is in storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so interesting because there's so many takeaways just from that little conversation. I'm listening to this and this is how my brain works. It's like thinking about all the takeaways, and it's like, how do we get this, make stories out of it, because I'm a storyteller, Yeah. And so I think, what I'm hearing from you in working with these people is the strategy that goes into this, because you're right. Like the first thing that's going through my mind right now when I think of Ashton Kutcher was that movie where they're in the drive-through and then that's all I can.
Dude, where's my car? Yeah.
That's what's going through my mind. But he's a business person, and I think that's what I guess the thing I'm saying here is that there's no easy path to success, no matter what it is you're doing. You always have to have some kind of strategy in place and, backup plans. But you also have to be committed to whatever it is you're trying to do. You've got to be committed 100% to what it is that you're wanting to do out there. Because I think people, even in the entrepreneur space, like you and I were just talking a few minutes ago about the success, we know that we have to go deep in the trenches to reach that spot. And a lot of times I think people look at people where they are now and they don't really see all the grunt work that went behind, before that success even happened, all the knee, falling on the knees. I always say that, I was at Mary Kay for a long time. So we talked about bloody knees, you have to do that. So I think there's so many takeaways, but the other thing I think is really neat that you hit on was the networking piece, because I have always said, it does not matter what you know, it's who you know, and it's one of the biggest things I've learned, even networking here, is that knowing people is important and building relationships is important. If you want to make anything happen, you have to be able to build relationships. And so I think it's funny that you said what you were doing in like HR people, because I think you and I could have been like friends. Like I totally think your job was cool. To find talent, I would have had so much fun doing that, because I can get people to show up wherever I need to get them. I will find them and I will get them to be where they need to be. And that is the easiest job for me to do. Like totally. I'm like, just tell me where you need people. Like I'm going to go find them. What do you need? I'm going to go get them. I'll have them excited. They're going to show up, you know? So I think it's a gift to be able to do that, and it's fun. And if that's important to you, you enjoy it. And so I think what a fun experience for you to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Be in that window to be able to do that.
Yeah. But I kind of, not to say I fell into it, but I did not have the goal to get on to work for MTV. I did not have cable growing. In a single parent household, I had video games. So I could tell you like the world of Zelda and Mario Brothers, but like I played Zelda. I love that. But like I wasn't the kid who watched MTV, and maybe in the early 90s with like, remote control, maybe I was watching, but I didn't love rock music. I was very emo in musical theater as a kid. So like that music wasn't on MTV. So I wasn't really tremendously interested in it. I went to school. I have a business degree in theater management. I wanted to be a Broadway producer, and I went to Broadway on 45th and Broadway the day that I met a casting director at MTV who said, "Hey, you've got a great look. Do you want to ask Whitney Houston a question?" And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly why I'm here." Are you kidding? Of course that's what I want to do. Right. What my question was, Whitney, what was it like recording the Prince of Egypt soundtrack with another recording artist like Mariah? And I practiced, and the host, Ananda Lewis, was hosting a TRL at that time. She kind of trained me, and I'm just a kid on the street, scared, sweaty palms. Whitney comes out, the commotion, like, this is going to be my moment. And I see the stage manager point me out. I'm 6'3". I'm a big guy. So she points me out in the crowd, and I wave and she waves, and I see the mouthing. He's going to ask you what it was like recording Prince of it. And I see her going, I'm not answering that question. I'm like, no, this is like my moment. This was supposed to be my big aha moment, my big discovery moment. So it wasn't my time. But next time, if y'all want any more help, let me know. And they go, well, tomorrow we're shooting a very Busta Christmas special with Busta Rhymes. And it just got something that came on our schedule. And we need about 20 people to sit in the studio audience who would care to hear Busta Rhymes give Christmas nursery rhymes in Busta Rhymes voice and in his own way. And I said, wait, what? Yeah, I have a lot of friends. I'm in college. Are you kidding? Yes, I have a lot of people who would like to confirm that. Yes. RSVP me plus 20, please. Wow. And I picked all my closest friends, not even the people who I thought would look the best. I picked the people who I know would do the best, because I needed to make sure I walked into that room with the right energy. I wasn't thinking about the aesthetics of TV as I learned to think about. I wasn't thinking about the things that I've learned that are important, in presentation, but I got it right. I had a great split of people. I realized in that moment how lucky I was to be surrounded by a diverse group of people with different backgrounds and sexualities and career fields and looks, and all of it just felt like, all right, this is something I can do. And my ability to organize people, I have a very strong data background. That database that I created of hundreds of people that I started meeting is what got the attention of Fox News. I worked on Hannity and Combs and toured the country in the late 90s, meeting people talking about both sides of the aisle. And then MTV News hired me to cast Choose or Lose. And then in 99, they wanted to launch the talent development department. They wanted someone to help Rod Asa, my boss, who's a true visionary and mastermind when it comes to unscripted programming. It was him and Sharon Osbourne, him and Ashton Kutcher, him and Jess Simpson that came up with these concepts. I mean, I've learned so much from him, such an empathetic and compassionate man, that I'm so lucky that I learned from someone like that. But of course I did. That's who I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to emotionally connected people, creatives who listen to the inner voice, who work hard to externalize that. Creating is taking a concept and getting it out, right? So whether that's to thousands or one-on-one, the act of creating is in to out. And that's a powerful communication tool. So as long as social media and digital media and all these media platforms keep inventing new ways to stay in touch, as long as we have social audio on LinkedIn, and now we have Pinterest TV, and we have podcasts on YouTube, I will always be inspired to create content because the formats are changing. And to be honest, I hate saying this, I do the same thing. I like talking about addiction. I like talking about recovery. I like talking about the things that I experienced as a teen because of my parents, the trauma that I went through that gave me the superpowers to put people first, to quickly identify the star in the room, to know my value and be able to defend myself. I keep thinking of like all the horrible things that we do that I was able to own, and I had no clue it was going to happen. But at MTV, I felt heard. A 19-year-old, a 20-year-old version of me, and they're saying, "Well, who should host this? What do you think about that?" And it was part of it. And I'll never. And also, TV was different in the 90s. I had the eyes of youth culture. You know, the youth culture wasn't split between TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, Peacock. You know, they were watching MTV. In fact, parents were watching MTV because that's when pop culture news came out, was like 3:30 to 4:30 on our live TRL show. And that ability to tap into an audience that's moving, that's creating, that's taking action. I find that audience in podcasting. That's what I'm most excited about in podcasting is the action that comes out of it. I've been through my entertainment phase. I've been through my walk in the heels of the women, the housewives of New Jersey. If you want to feel what it's like, I've done that part where you get to sit comfortably in your couch, get your ice cream, drink your wine, finish your dinner. I've done that part. But now when you hear my voice, be propelled, to be inspired, to take on responsibility, to be part of someone's, actions and contribute to a larger conversation.
That's so awesome, Vinny. You were giving me chills. Like I just think your story is so neat. And I think just
thanks.
I always talk about, when I work with people about our paths not being linear, like when you said, I sort of kind of fell in this, you just happened to be at the right place at the right time and sort of kind of fell into this and you've evolved as, along the way. And I think that's what's so great about what we do, because if you really start dissecting all of the pieces of the work that we do, they're different things, but there's little pieces of them that all really overlap. So you probably, you've just had this, I'm listening and I hear you had this gift of getting the right people, finding the right people and helping those right people, right? So that goes all the way back to you organizing those people to show up when you needed to get them to that event, right? Like getting the right demographic and all of that, the right people there. And I think that's a gift. I think that all of these things that we do, it's really finding where we're good and then how do we take that and evolve that into our purpose and our passion. Like, right, for you, it's finding these brands, helping these podcasts. And I think I just love it. I think your story is so awesome and it's fun to hear you talk about it. Like, this is why I love doing what I do on this podcast, because I just love hearing the stories. I like hearing the journeys of where people have just moved along and evolved. And so congratulations on all the work that you've done and that you're doing now.
Thanks. Well, first off, a shout out to the therapists who helped me reframe my history in a way that empowers me. That's what happened. When I was 19, I basically, someone told me that we had the power to change our stories and that the version of the story I was telling, when people say, "Hey, Vinny, who are you? Tell me about yourself." I mean, I would say things that I wouldn't even say on this podcast, knowing that I can't believe I would talk about myself. I would never talk about anybody the way that I was talking about myself. It was a weird feeling when, by the way, I had that feeling last year when I was, you have a great camera and it seems like have great connection. I realized I was using a 720, not high definition camera. And I'm like, wait, I'm the person who's putting myself in not HD. Like, I'm the one who's not being crystal clear and you can't see my eyes in this video because I chose to put me. I would never choose to put a guest in something less than. What am I doing, Vin? Part of that is the defense mechanism, the coping mechanisms of putting people first. I show up for other people before myself. It's very hard for me sometimes to invite people to things that I'm doing. For for lots of reasons. I blame it all
Sure.
on my parents because that's what they tell us to do. It's not really all their fault, but mostly, mostly, right? And I think that I'm joking, by the way, when I say that.
Yeah,
And I realize that I can't wait for how about this? I'll get back on track. I can't wait for my parents to give me what I'm looking for, because they weren't capable of giving it to me because of drugs and relationship issues. And I realized that I had to take matters into my own hand. When I went to school, I changed the spelling of my name from Vinnie with a Y to an IE. Now I'm accepting my sexuality, and I'm making it part of who I am. Not a small part, but a proud part of who I am. Sure. My name is on my company. I talk about what a journey. Like, this has been, and there's something in my industry called LMNO, leave my name off. Like, I'll do the work, but LMNO on credits. Like, I'll get paid, but don't put my name on it because I don't want to
put your name on there. Huh.
Let the world see what, I never understood that. And I couldn't be prouder to be partnering with people. And I look back at unscripted TV, and like Jessica and Ashton, I trusted them to go ahead and make great content that I didn't tell them what to do. They made decisions, and we sort of got to make something of it. Podcasting is similar to me. I don't get to tell you what to ask me. I don't get to tell you what questions come my way. Right. I don't even have final control in this episode, which is why I love it, because I have final control too many times in my life. And I'm like, am I over editing myself? Is there? And it's true. It's absolutely true. We do. And being a podcast guest allows me to see a slightly unique and different version of myself that other people see in me that I love. I gotta be honest. I love that part.
Yeah.
I think that's
and I think it's good too, because I mean, being a fellow podcaster, it's always fun to go on the other side and see how somebody's doing something. And I always say that even the thing I love is, like, every episode that I do, I learn something new. Like, it's either some kind of takeaway that I can apply, because I'm working with so many people. And, what's really neat is, even in what I'm trying to build right now, all of these conversations. I mean, in my old show, I interviewed 100. I think I put out 170 episodes. I've talked to a lot of really cool, amazing people. And some of those, I mean, like, I interviewed Cass Haley. I don't know if you remember, he was the runner-up on America's Got Talent. His song his song was on the Lincoln commercial. I interviewed him. I interviewed Shemaine Nugent. I mean, I've interviewed some really cool people, and I've learned so many neat things just from all the different people. So for me, as a fellow podcaster, I just love these conversations because I just feel like you learn things, and it's great to be on the other end of the guests and just see what they're doing and the style. And I just think you make great connections doing this kind of stuff. So kudos to you on overcoming your adversity, because I think, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right. And I think we all have these crazy stories and they're all different. They're all relative to who we are. And I was having to tell somebody the other day that I'm going on somebody's podcast here, I think next week. And she's another, I think she's in her 50s, just did a bodybuilding competition. I think she was on Fox. She's a phenomenal lady. But she asked me all these questions on this Google Doc that I had to answer. And it's like, what's something that probably somebody doesn't know about you? And I'm like, so I'm trying to think, because most of the people that I met in the last few years have seen me like I am now. They don't know, like I said, all, where I started, how shy I was in the very beginning. But I was like, I had to come up with something. And I'm like, okay, like, the one craziest thing that I can think of is that I was married to this guy right out of high school that was a druggie. He was abusive, and I had to file a restraining order on him. I was only married to him for 2 years. I left him, filed a restraining order, and then he started threatening me and said all these nasty things, and that was the end of it. But that was like, I had to think, like, because people look at you and they sort of, like we said a few minutes ago, they look at like you're like this perfect cookie cutter, right? And then you realize, no, none of us are cookie cutters. Like, we don't come out of a mold. We all have stuff we bring with us, and we have to evolve and learn how to work through that, right? That junk, that garbage, to build what we want, right? But I think it's through that adversity that we become what we are, and how we become stronger and better and passionate about the things we're doing. So congratulations to you on that. I think
Thanks
that's
so
awesome.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people will get to say that they were the head of talent at MTV or worked with some of those people.
No.
But I do think a lot of people can relate to not knowing a single person in the entertainment industry, or not knowing a single celebrity, or maybe like you even get access to one, and now what, by the way. Can I throw out some tactics? Because you said that
Yes,
you
that
love
was going to
learning.
be my next
So
question. Absolutely, yes.
there's some ego. A little piece of my ego just popped in, and it was like, oh wait, Vin, make sure you give her the good stuff.
Yes.
So
Yes. Well, you've given us a lot of good stuff, by the way, Vinny. It's been really
Thanks.
good. It's been good. But yes,
Oh.
we did. That was my next question because we've talked about, we've led up to, I think, several times. But yes, tell us. We were talking about giving some tips out for helping people elevate their brand or
cool.
just getting discovered.
All of it. All right. So
Whatever you feel inclined to tell us.
discovered. So let's talk about how to get your podcast on TV. So for example, if you're looking to get your podcast leveraged into mass media, first off, I want to start off by pointing out 3 sectors of media: mass media, social media, and private media. Private media are podcasts and the newsletters that we own. Social media is both, what's the word that they use? Centralized and decentralized. So like all your normal Instas and TikToks, and then all the new ones that are popping up that aren't owned by a single company. And then good old traditional media, which generally is news, television, magazines, and print. So the things that I'm noticing happening in the print, in the mass media section, like if I'm watching Jimmy Fallon late night, for a great example is Late Night Show with Jimmy Fallon, where he always has a segment, pretty much like the second or third segment I know is going to be lifted and available on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok almost instantly. It's a segment that's quick and fun. We call it in storytelling, it's bookended, meaning I know how it begins and I know how it ends. It's very concise. It lives on its own, and they're creating it specifically for the sake of you enjoying it, loving it, laughing it, and then more importantly, sharing it on social media. And what Jimmy isn't doing is increasing visibility. What he didn't do is take out ads, and every single ad break is the Tonight Show, visibility. He didn't increase visibility here. He increased shareability. And a lot of us who are looking to get discovered tend to want to increase our visibility. If we can be more visible, we'll be more discoverable. And what I want to help you figure out is how to be more shareable. I actually think with more visibility, here's what I think. I think visibility works when someone's ego who sees you and to whom you are visible to can now share you. There's a piece of that person's ego that is rewarded by sharing you.
Mhm.
Oh, Judy, you're going to love this person. I just had this. Oh, I'm calling out my friends. I'm sharing, the podcast with them. I get something, social proof, social credit. I don't know. I get something from my group of people, colleagues, friends, family, church community, whoever it is that I'm sharing. I get something out of sharing you. There's an ego, there's a piece of return on discovering you and sharing that information out there. And I think that when your visibility is keyed up and the impression that everybody has access to you, then I no longer find it valuable to share your information, because people might not find me valuable if I think you're valuable and they already have access to you. And then instead of asking Samantha, Sam, do you know Jennifer? Instead of asking, I say, oh, Jennifer again?
Right.
Oh, that song again? That movie's on again? But when that movie first came out, oh my gosh, the movie's on. Gotta watch it. Oh, I have cable. Come on. I have HBO. Come on over. I'm discovering, this discoverability is all about sharing.
Yeah.
And I want to point that out. I want to point that out that if we can be more shareable, if there was one metric that I were to look at in all media or social media, that it would be sharing. That if you're loving this episode, if this is the episode that gets you to share a 5-star review with Jennifer, and if this is the episode that gets you to finally log onto that platform where you found us and just leave a nice, well-written message, take a snapshot of that and share it with us. And then we can share that out. By the way, if you do that, please tag me, because I'm obsessed with the 5-star squad. So right. I will see you in the 5 stars. That's think about this too. If you were to ever have like a 5-star, I'm thinking of in the future of podcasting, because podcasting will be very prevalent in the future, the same way radio still is, by the way. So be very prepared for businesses and world leaders to continue to emerge out of what we think might emerge out of this media platform, the same way that television and film and news platforms have given us world leaders globally. I'm not just talking about America over the last few years. Be careful about that topic, but they're public figures, and the responsibility really matters. So visibility, if you're looking for more discoverability, works when you increase sharing. And that's like a big, when you can help people feel like they discover you, oh, I found Vinny. I found,
right.
That's ego. And that's something you have to be mindful of, that is true and honest and exists. I'm careful not to feed it too much, because you don't control the ego. Ego is emotional, and it as long as you're very crystal clear on what that ego is supposed to do, it should do what you want. But be careful, you're playing with dynamite. I'm like, you come to Jennifer to learn how to build your fire and where to source your wood and where to get the match, and you call me when you're ready for me to come with a gallon of gasoline and we're ready to let the world. Yeah, right. That's it. That's exactly it.
I love it, Vinny. Love it. Love it. Shareability. That's going to be our learned message.
Right?
Yep.
Also, by the way, there's this piece of what I can do and what I can do and what I am doing. And when I can do gets higher than what I am doing. And often it does. And it should, by the way. I should always be doing something and then be aware that I can be doing more. But when that space gets, I don't know, dramatically large, I feel like that's where the devil creeps in, and imposter syndrome and lack of clarity. Should I be niching down? And I will tell you, my strategy on niching down is no. No part of me is ever going to ask anyone to make themselves smaller. Never, ever, ever make yourself smaller. Ever, if you don't want to or don't have to. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but do not make yourself smaller than a niche down. Make the message, make the product, make the conversation smaller. Santa Claus shows up to us in lots of different ways. He hasn't niched his audience just because parents know this and kids know this. They're the same man. We just understand different touch points of him. And I think that's what we need to be better at, is understanding how certain audiences perceive us and how those audiences can work together on that combined reality of who we are. And that's powerful, right? Kids believe in the magic. Parents are the magic. That's an awesome relationship between two audiences that can build strong community. Obviously, you're his family, so it's a big opportunity to stand out. I'm a big fan of that. I also love telling people to win awards. There's like shame in awards. Win awards. I have 100 awards worthy of winning. Go out there. You're not winning it for you, to be honest. You say thank you to everybody. 15, 20 people that you got to thank in your thank you speech. Credits. I'm big on people getting credits. Get your credits. IMDb, Internet Movie Database, this month created the ability for podcasters to have the podcaster title. Usually it was actor, actress, or self. Now we have the ability to be called podcasters. To me, that means that Google and Amazon are talking. There's going to be some type of snippet that sees that I'm a podcaster on IMDb, and I'm waiting for IMDb, little snippet in my search results with my most recent episodes pulled up from IMDb. I'm waiting for that to show up in my Google search results. That's the power of podcasting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of, I've got a lot of friends in podcasting too. And so I'm hearing a lot of things about it really growing, because, there for a while we thought it was kind of staling out because everybody's got a podcast, right? But then I keep hearing that this is where it's at, and they're moving it onto YouTube and stuff. So I think the big thing I'm hearing here, and I agree with you on this, because it's kind of, I think, having done, not that I'm a pro at any of this, I'm obviously not, but I do agree on this whole shareability. And I know what you're talking about on the Jimmy Fallon, because I see those clips and I always laugh at them. I just saw one the other day with Dolly Parton on there. And so.
Oh, it's so good, that one.
Yes, the one where she tells the joke.
Yes. Wait, they're so brilliant. These pieces are so brilliant that in the beginning, I think the idea was we'll show the public this, and then they'll find it on Instagram, and then they'll be excited to find it on Instagram and they'll share it. I think now we see it and we go, oh, I can't wait for that to go on Instagram so I can share that with so-and-so, because I know they didn't see this. It gave me the opportunity to discover the Dolly Parton clip, by the way, and send it to a couple of people on Instagram. That's what I'm talking about. The power of sharing. Yeah, she's so good though.
Yeah.
He's so good with her too, though. They're brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and it is smart. I mean, it's kind of like one of the things I learned even in the very beginning that, when you're doing these podcasts, you really got to work with the people too that are guests on your show. And so that's why I always say, my goal whenever I do a show is I want to make sure that my guest has a great experience when they walk off, because there's no point in us just going on each other's podcasts if we're not supporting each other either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's really about how do we help each other and support. And so I think, you're saying so many things, but I really love the shareable thing. And so thank you for sharing that. You said a lot of
of
things,
course.
but that's the one that's sticking in my mind. And I'm always thinking about
Power
that
of
when you're
sharing.
thinking clips. How do you put something out there that people are going to look at and go, hey, this is really good. I need to share this. So you're doing some good stuff.
You mentioned it because you say you called yourself a storyteller, and we talk about having stories. So here's one piece of like implementable advice I want to give. If you've got a lot of stories, if you think a story is relevant and you might want to pitch it to an editor, maybe on a blog or a newspaper, position yourself as the source, not the story. Position yourself as a credible source. And here I have I don't say a 5-rule way to do it, but when I'm meeting people who don't know me, who might understand what I've done if they care to look at some of my history or bio, but sometimes I don't even get past that first sentence. So here's my 5 kind of magic way of doing it. I say, here's the first 2 things I've done. I've done these 2 things in the can. You can't touch them. I've got something right now on my plate that you could have an impact on. What kind of question, what kind of answer, what kind of soundbite would serve you if I were to ask the person who I'm about to sit down with, how could that help you? And also, I have 2 more people in the future that I've got, planned. So I'm able to say, here's what I've done, here's what I'm doing, and here's what I've got going on now. And what I'm trying to do is give you the ability to see my past, so you see how credible I am at showing up, being consistent, creating content that hits air and wins awards and makes impact. I need you to see that so you can believe what I believe can come from the podcasting world. Because I'm asking for faith. I'm asking for grace. I'm asking for space to believe in something that isn't quite there yet, but is quickly growing into it. And for the people who say it's a small, and also this space is growing, we're in it. We're the ones. How many episodes have you had? This show, I think we're on 48. Oh, actually, I've recorded episodes.
Yeah, that's this one, awesome. But I did a bunch. I've got more because they're in the recording bin right now. Yeah, I had 100 over. I had about 170 on that one. Yeah. I've got a lot of people.
Your episodes. It's your episodes that are expanding. It's your multiple podcasts and your multiple episodes that are making this industry bigger. The industry isn't getting bigger around us. The industry is getting bigger with us. We are the ones that are growing and making this space bigger. We are the ones who just got podcaster as an official title to be honest, on a platform that I've been using for every single show I've ever done. I make sure I get credit on that. People have always asked for ways to stand out. Podcaster, what a brilliant way to stand out right now. And IMDb talks to Google. If you Google image search, the link backs to your website, the SEO rewards are ridiculous. The SEO rewards.
All right, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to go check all this out. I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah, I have tactics, step-by-step guides. Everything that I've shared is vpe.tv/hub. So there's no gate or subscription or anything. I just have tactics and step-by-step instructions on how to be successful. I believe these tactics work. And I think that these tactics are implementable with almost anyone's strategy. So what I don't want to do is throw out more strategy. What I do want to do is just give you better tools to implement.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and thanks for saying where to find that, because that was going to be my question, is where do we want to send these people to find out more about you and your work? I do want to ask you,
awesome.
I'm going to ask you that probably one more time before we get down here, but I want to ask you one more question in all of this, because I think this is like one of my favorite questions. And this is why I feel like it's the personal journal here is what have you learned in this journey? Like, what do you feel like has been the big takeaway for you?
That answers are predicated on questions. Think about that there are bias, an unconscious bias with a lot of questions.
Sure.
And the answers we land on are often shaped, informed by the questions. And I learned the best questions to ask are the ones that aren't questions. Tell me a story about being a child. Tell me a story about this music video. Tell me a story. There's no question mark at the end of that. that's a statement, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I also, I think a lot, especially as we're curious and we ask questions based on the answers we think we want to hear or we think are out there, that this world just God, so we think not even talking about neurodivergency. We are such different thinkers and creators. If I sat down with 20 people and asked them how they're making money in content, everyone would say something different. Every production company says something different. So I know that the relationship is there, but I think the questions have a lot to do with the answers that we're getting. And that's where I love, being really mindful. That's why I love being a guest. Yeah. I love, by the way, I have a document. So you asked earlier, you said you got this form and it had all these questions. I copy all the questions that people ask me and I put it in my Notion, because I'm often wondering what people care, what's fascinating, what's not fascinating, whatever. But also I want to make sure that I have answers to those questions that help them out based on what I think that person is asking. You know, they might think my backstory is important because they might think backstory matters, when the truth of the matter is that history is a story. Mm-hmm. So like, what part of the past matters if it's the story of your history that matters? When I figured that out at 19, 20, I changed my name. I took out an ad on Backstage. I said, I want to be a casting director. And then my career was off to the gates. Right. That's not even that's not even the right phrase, but you know what I'm trying to say. Out of the gates.
I think this is good. And I think you said something really good about the questions, because I do think that's important. And it's funny that you were talking about the statements, because that's one of the things that I have a friend here that worked, there's a podcast studio here in Dallas, and they're called Real News PR, and they do a lot of work with the the stations. And so the guy that owns it used to be a reporter here. And, you know, we always joke that, like, or I don't say joke, but if he needs somebody for like Fox or CNN, he can find them. He can get a guest to get on there if he needs to get them. So one of the girls I know out of there, I know several people, it's how I got Shemaine Nugent on my podcast, was through there, because I knew people in there networking. Mm-hmm. And, one of the girls in there was a reporter. She actually covered Sandy Lake we're talking about the hurricanes earlier. Now Hurricane Sandy. Right. I don't know why I said Sandy Lake. Hurricane Sandy. Yeah. Is that what it was? I'm like, where did I get Sandy Lake? Wrong story. Anyways, I watched a lot of her work. And when you talk about like having that dialogue, you know, you can get a lot from people just by making a statement and letting them take that statement and answer, you know, like, extrapolate their own information to you, right? So just saying, tell me about that. Tell me about your days at MTV, right? And then you can go.
That's it. As opposed to, what was it like working with celebrities? Because by the way, how do you know what, you know, and maybe I could have offered, by the way, I can't answer a question about MTV without talking about the people I worked with. So like, that's, you know, that's sort of like built in, but there's, even here's a great question. Life.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about life. We're gonna be here for a while, Vinny. This could be an all-day conversation if we start there, right?
Question. Life.
Yeah. Tell me about your life. Yeah. You could just say that. Life. Let them go. But no, that's an art, because I do think even when I first started podcasting, I didn't even know how to do that. That was like a new thing I had to learn in the process. And now I ask some questions. Sometimes I just make a statement and I just let them roll with it and let them go. And that's the beauty of this, I think. So this has been so fun.
The power of silence. Like sometimes the best question is like nothing, and then people will fill that space. So
yes, exactly. Vinny, this has been so awesome. I do want to say one more time. So if our listeners want to learn more about you, find out, you know, more about your work, where do I want to send them?
Oh, thanks. I'm very reactive on LinkedIn. So find me on LinkedIn at any point in your career or time. VPE.tv is my website, VPE.tv/hub, HUB, like hubba. VPE.tv/hub is my creator hub. That's where I have documentation on the 99 awards worthy of winning, 50 creator platforms that are paying creators right now who are making content, who are asking, how do I monetize my content? I've got 50 platforms for you to sign up on, over 60 places to put your podcast in 2023 that are brand new as of 2022. Wow. If you're a medium-sized fish and you're looking for a smaller pond to stand out in, I've got the address for you. So reach out and say hi.
Perfect.
Jennifer, I really appreciate this convo. I love what you do, how you do it. And like, this is exemplary of the energy. Like, I'm in.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to check out your stuff too. I'm excited. This was so much fun for me too, just listening to all of your story and what you're doing and all the amazing tips. Thank you for all of that. So I'm going to be in touch. I'm going to find you on LinkedIn. I'm excited about this. So I do want to say to our listeners, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you give us a rating on iTunes, check us out on Facebook, and then click the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us there, right? And I want to leave you guys with a final parting thought. Same thing I say every week. In order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.